The cosmos stretched before them, an infinite abyss speckled with the glimmer of distant stars. The Orion's veil drifted through the void, a solitary sentinel in the silence of deep space. Within its armored hull, Commander Elias Vance stood. Before the observation deck, his gaze locked onto the cold emptiness beyond. The weight of his mission pressed against his thoughts. Another expedition into the unknown. Another mystery that defied explanation. For centuries, humanity had expanded into the stars, carving a place for itself among civilizations both ancient and new. The galaxy teemed with the remnants of long-dead empires, their ruins whispering of triumphs and tragedies lost to time. Yet none were more elusive than the so-called Zenith Dominion, a name found only in fractured records, an empire that had ruled the stars before vanishing without a trace. When the distress beacon was discovered emanating from an uncharted world, protocol dictated caution, yet the encoded frequency was unmistakably human, technology too advanced for the known timeline of human expansion. The implications gnawed at Vance's mind. How could something human exist here, millions of light years, from Earth untouched by time? The very thought was absurd. Beside him, Lieutenant Arden Reyes scanned the holographic display, her brow furrowed. "Commander, the anomaly matches no known signal structures. Whatever's down there, it's not just old, it's ancient." Vance crossed his arms, his expression unreadable. "Then we find out why. Prep the lander. We're going down." The shuttle's descent carved through the alien sky, its engines whispering against the dead air. Below, the world stretched in a desolate sprawl, blackened valleys and skeletal mountains rising like the bones of a forgotten beast. The ruins of a once great city loomed in the distance, its towering structures frozen in time. The architecture was unlike anything humanity had encountered before, and yet in the faint curvature of archways, the subtle symmetry of corridors, there was something familiar. The ground team stepped onto the surface, their boots crunching against dust undisturbed. For millennia, Vance's fingers flexed against his rifle, though there was no sign of life. The silence felt unnatural, the weight of unseen eyes pressed against them, though no shadows lurked among the ruins. Then they found it. The vault, a monolithic structure of obsidian metal, buried beneath layers of sediment. Its entrance loomed like a wound carved into the planet itself. Dr. Anaya Patel, the expedition's lead scientist, ran her gloved fingers over the surface, brushing away the dust of forgotten time. Symbols etched into the metal pulsed faintly at her touch. Human symbols, not alien, not unknown, unmistakably human. "This shouldn't be possible," she breathed. "This predates our earliest interstellar travel by thousands, no, millions of years." The vault's entrance shuddered open with a hiss of pressurized air. Darkness yawned beyond the threshold, deeper than sight, colder than space itself. Vance took a step forward, gripping his rifle tighter. The air tasted electric, charged with something intangible. Then a voice. A whisper, yet deafening. "You are not ready to know yourselves." The darkness came alive. The darkness swallowed them whole as they stepped into the vault, their suit lights barely piercing the abyss. A corridor stretched forward, lined with walls that shimmered as if alive, the metal reacting to their presence. Every step echoed, a reminder that they were intruders in a place long abandoned, if it had ever been abandoned at all. Vance tightened his grip on his rifle, his senses on high alert. The whispering voice still echoed in his mind, resonating, deep in his bones. Patel worked on her scanner, her breath shallow. "This metal, it's not just a structure, it's a neural lattice. It's thinking," she murmured. A sudden pulse shuddered through the walls and the vault woke up. Lights flickered to life, cold and blue, casting long shadows. Symbols rearranged themselves on the walls, forming patterns that twisted and shifted, like something alive. Then in the center of the corridor a pedestal rose, a crystalline sphere suspended above it, pulsing like a heartbeat. Reyes reached for it, but Vance stopped her. "No sudden moves." The vault did not care for caution. The moment their presence was acknowledged, the sphere erupted in a cascade of holographic projections. Images swarmed the air, fleets of impossible ships, celestial constructs larger than planets, a civilization spanning the void itself. And then, the fall. Wars of unthinkable scale. Stars detonated as weapons, planets consumed in waves of entropy. And finally, silence. The Zenith Dominion had vanished, leaving only echoes. Vance's voice was hoarse. This is impossible. If they ruled the galaxy, then where the hell did they go? The answer came in the form of shifting symbols, translating into a single terrifying phrase. They became you. The air turned heavy. The realization settled over them like a crushing weight. Humanity had not discovered the stars. They had merely returned to them. But why had they forgotten? Before they could process the revelation, the vault trembled. A failsafe long dormant had awakened. Defense systems programmed against intruders, against them. From the darkness, forms began to emerge. Not machines, not aliens. Something human. The figures stepped forward, their forms wreathed in shifting energy, their bodies humanoid yet wrong. Too perfect, too symmetrical, their eyes burning with an eerie luminescence. They moved with an uncanny grace, their expressions unreadable. Patel's voice trembled as her scanner flickered wildly. They're biologically human. But this is beyond genetic engineering. It's like they've been preserved. Reyes finished, her fingers tightening around her weapon. The lead figure spoke, its voice layered as if thousands of voices echoed through it. You are echoes, faded remnants of what we were. Vance's breath was tight in his chest. Who are you? The entity cocked its head. We are the Zenith, the last of what was. The weight of the words sank in. These were not guardians, not defense mechanisms. These were survivors, a fraction of the lost civilization existing outside of time, waiting for something, someone. We don't understand, Patel said, stepping forward. If humanity came from the Zenith, why don't we remember? What happened? The answer was not given. It was shown. Their minds were flooded with memories that were not their own. They saw themselves as gods of the void, bending reality, wielding knowledge that defied physics. And then they saw the cost. Entire star systems unmade by arrogance, their own empire collapsing under the weight of its unchecked ambition. The Zenith had realized too late that they had gone too far. Evolution had reached a dead end. The only way forward was back. They had erased themselves, stripped away their advancements, rewritten their DNA to start anew. The last survivors had remained behind to ensure the cycle was never broken. But now, the cycle had broken. Humanity had rediscovered them, and not all of them agreed on what to do next. The air grew charged with tension. Some of the Zenith figures stepped back, their forms flickering, uncertain. Others, however, took an aggressive stance. The cycle was meant to last forever. You were not supposed to return. Weapons ancient and beyond comprehension materialized in their hands. The mission was no longer one of discovery. It was survival. Vance issued the only order that made sense. Fall back, now. The Orions. Vale responded instantly to their distress call, the ship's thrusters igniting as the away team sprinted for the exit. Energy blasts carved through the darkness, missing them by inches. The Zenith were powerful, but hesitation slowed them. Some of them did not wish to fight. Reyes and Patel made it to the lander first. Vance covered their retreat, dodging a wave of concussive energy that sent debris scattering. One Zenith warrior aimed directly at him, until another tackled them aside. The conflict was not unanimous. As the lander's doors sealed, the realization settled over Vance. This was not over. The past had been unearthed, and now, humanity's greatest enemy might just be itself. The lander tore through the planet's atmosphere, its engines burning white-hot as it surged toward the waiting embrace of the Orion's veil. Inside, Vance barely had time to breathe before the ship's alarms blared to life. Incoming vessels detected, multiple bogies, origin unknown. Except they weren't unknown. They were Zenith. Sleek, gravity-defying ships materialized from the void, their surfaces shifting like liquid metal, adapting to unseen commands. They did not move like ordinary spacecraft. They twisted through space as if obeying laws beyond, physics closing in with terrifying precision. "They're giving us a choice," Patel whispered, staring at the tactical display. "Surrender and embrace what we were, or be erased." Vance's hands curled into fists. This wasn't just about survival anymore. If the Zenith reabsorbed humanity, they would not be the species they had fought to become. They would become gods again, unfettered, unchecked, doomed to repeat history. "Like hell we will." His voice was steel. "Full power to the shields. Reyes, plot a course out of here." The ship jolted as the first attack hit. Energy rippled against their shields, warping the very space around them. The Zenith were not using conventional weapons. They were trying to rewrite them, to forcibly restore them to what they once were. Reyes fought against the controls. "They're bending space around us. We can't jump." Patel's fingers danced over the console. "I might have a way. If we overload the reactor, we can create a localized burst of quantum disruption, enough to break their hold." "Do it," Vance ordered. The ship trembled as power surged through its core. Outside, the Zenith ships tightened their formation, preparing for the final blow. They were waiting for the humans to break, to submit. But humanity had never been one to kneel. With a deafening pulse, the reactor exploded with controlled force, unleashing a quantum shockwave that rippled outward. The Zenith ships hesitated. For the first time, something unexpected had happened. In that fraction of a second, Orion's veil moved. Reyes wrenched the controls, forcing the ship into a desperate escape maneuver. They tore free from the gravitational net, engines screaming as they pushed beyond their limits. Behind them, the Zenith ships did not pursue. Patel exhaled sharply. "They let us go." Vance's grip tightened on the console. No. The Zenith had seen something in their actions, something that gave them pause. For the first time in eons, the cycle had shifted. The question was no longer whether humanity would return to what it once was. The question was whether the Zenith feared what humanity had become. Silence filled the bridge of the Orion's veil. The hum of the ship's systems barely registered as the crew processed what had just transpired. The Zenith had let them escape, not because they couldn't stop them, but because something in humanity's defiance had made them hesitate. Vance stood at the helm, his knuckles white against the metal railing. He had led his team into the abyss of history and returned with answers no one was prepared for. Humanity wasn't the new, ambitious species it had always believed itself to be. It was ancient, a forgotten god walking blindly through the ruins of its past. Patel broke the silence. "What do we tell command?" The weight of that question settled over them. This knowledge could change everything: galactic politics, human identity, even the very fabric of what it meant to be alive. There would be those who saw this revelation as an opportunity. Others would see it as a threat. Vance exhaled slowly. "We tell them the truth, but not all of it." Reyes turned, her expression wary. "You want to hide this?" "Not hide." His voice was steady. "Control. We release enough to confirm the existence of the Zenith, but leave out the details that could push us toward a war we're not ready for." He turned to Patel. "You saw their reaction. The Zenith aren't unified. Some of them wanted to annihilate us. Others hesitated." She nodded slowly. "Which means there's a chance to negotiate." Vance's jaw tightened. "Or a chance to be manipulated. If we give this knowledge to the wrong people, we could create the very thing they were trying to prevent, a return to who we were." The thought was suffocating. Humanity had clawed its way from the darkness, built itself from the ashes of forgotten divinity. To reclaim that power would mean risking the same fate, the cycle repeating. Once more, Reyes leaned back, arms crossed. "So what's the plan?" Vance met her gaze. "We go back to Earth, we prepare. The Zenith aren't our enemies yet, but they are watching. They're waiting to see if we'll make the same mistakes." Patel exhaled, tension in her shoulders. And if we do? Vance's eyes darkened. Then next time they won't hesitate. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly before them. The Orion's veil turned toward home, carrying the weight of an entire species' forgotten past, and the uncertain future that lay ahead. Years passed, but the memory of the Zenith never faded. The discovery had been classified, buried beneath layers of bureaucracy, known only to a select few in humanity's highest circles. The official report spoke of an ancient, extinct civilization, just another lost empire among the ruins of the galaxy. The truth remained hidden, but truth had a way of resurfacing. Far beyond human space, in the cold silence of an uncharted system, something stirred. A beacon, long dormant, flickered to life. Its signal pulsed through the void, a transmission, encoded in a language no modern human had ever learned, yet somehow they would all understand. The Zenith never died. We are waking up. On Earth, Vance stood alone in his quarters, staring at the classified report spread across his desk. Across the galaxy, unexplained anomalies were increasing. Distorted space-time, inexplicable energy readings, phenomena that defied human science. The Zenith had been silent since that day, but silence was never eternal. A priority message flashed on his communicator. Rhea's voice came through, tight with urgency. "You need to see this." The transmission played. The beacon's message, repeated. Vance exhaled slowly, his gaze lifting to the night sky beyond the viewport. They had broken the cycle, or so they had thought. Now, the past was coming for them.